This is huge. Today we had the release of a letter to shareholders that has shed some light on some big things to expect in the coming days. I am of course talking about Ilus International, ticker symbol ILUS. This stock looks like it's primed to ignite and take off just like it did last year. The stock is over 85% below its high point from last November, but Ilus is far bigger now than it was then, and this letter to shareholders does highlight this very clearly. What's up investors, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I will look at this letter in detail, and I will also look at the financials and the charts to see what we can expect in the coming weeks. As I have said before, when you do enough research, when you do enough real due diligence, you will win the majority of the time. So in this video I will analyze Ilus financial statements to show you what I expect, what the company expects, and what I feel we need in order to achieve significant gains. If the conditions that I mention in this video are met, this stock will make a huge gain next week for sure. So stick around until the end of the video. I think you're going to like what I have for you. If you enjoy my Ilus videos and want me to keep creating regular updates, can I ask you to smash the like button? By liking the video and dropping a comment, you're letting me know that you want to see more of this type of content. I'm aiming to get 300 likes on this video. Help me achieve that goal. Your likes help the channel grow, but it also helps spread the word about Ilus International. Tell YouTube to show this video to more people by hitting the thumbs up and watching until the end. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the bell notification. Now let's get into it with the very latest news out of Ilus, which is the letter to shareholders. We know that the past few months have been particularly challenging as the global financial instability and fear of the economic recession as well as inflation led to a stock market decline, which did not leave Ilus unscathed. As has been the case with most of the market, the stock price has declined significantly during that period despite our growth going in the opposite direction. Therefore, I thought it pertinent to remind shareholders of our progress. Because by every business metric, Ilus has never been stronger, and our current outlook of upcoming events, we have never been more excited. Now, a lot of people have pointed to the Ilus share price since this time last year and looked at the decline. They focus on the decline of the share price and ignore the fact that the company, the business itself, has grown so much. We have grown astronomically and achieved over $50 million in revenue so far this year. Now remember this $50 million figure because I will talk about this later in the video. But in addition, we have over 150 million in confirmed purchase orders and 220 in expected orders. Our Form 10 is filed and we should be a fully reporting company by the 20th of December, followed by our name change shortly afterwards. We are presently manufacturing in 4 countries with several million square feet of manufacturing space and will be increasing to manufacturing in 7 countries soon. We have 6 acquisitions completed already and several agreed. Now this is a fantastic achievement. No matter what anyone says about Ilus, they have achieved a hell of a lot over the past 24 months. When I first started to talk about this company, the stock was a little over 4 cents. They were literally just 2 companies, Firebug and BCD Fire, but now they have global reach and massive expansion. As it says here, we are in a far stronger position today than we were a year ago, and as a business, we will soon be taking our most significant steps yet. Steps which put us on a global map as a dominant and unstoppable force in our respective sectors. We are now midway through what is shaping up to be a very strong final quarter of the year, and our Q3 results will be filed early next week, reflecting the continuous progress that we are making. With our current businesses and those which we are adding to the stable, we remain on track to achieve our aggressive growth forecasts for the year. We are wrapping up several acquisitions which we know have taken a while longer as we have opted for a reasonable watch and wait approach while the markets have been in a downturn and access to funding has become more expensive with investors pricing in uncertainties. Now this signals top class management to me. Everyone knows that the market has been in a downturn. Everyone knows the stock prices have been dropping. So while many people have been calling for more and more action and frustrated when there has been a lack of this coming from OTC companies, I do feel that the watch and wait approach has been very clever, and with the inflation data from the last few days, this may have signaled a bit of a turning point in the market. Naturally enough, JP has addressed this here. Recent developments mean that we are now taking a more bullish approach, meaning that shareholders can look forward to several power moves by the business. We have some very exciting announcements over the coming days, weeks and months leading up to the annual shareholders meeting. And then the letter finishes off with just a few quotes showing that the stock price does not always correlate to the company value. Back in 2020, when Amazon shares were 80% down despite growth, Jeff Bezos wrote to shareholders, "We are a company that wants to be weighted, and over time we will be. Over the long term, all companies are. In the meantime, we have our heads down working hard to build a heavier and heavier company." Now JP says that he's not suggesting that Ilus should be compared to Amazon, but from the viewpoint and focus is the same. In less than 23 months we have achieved more than most, and we are now entering the period of delivering on our biggest milestones yet, where we expect to be weighted more appropriately according to our results and growth as a company. Therefore, as our saying goes, hold the vision, trust the process. Now before I go and look ahead at the financials and see what we can expect next week, and see if we can achieve a similar run to what happened this time last year, can I ask you to take a moment and help the channel? Smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I have been covering Ilus stock consistently now for nearly 2 years. A journey which began for me when this stock was only slightly over 4 cents. And as we have seen, it reached as high as more than a 1000% gain to hit all-time highs of 50 cents at one point. So if you've been with me on this journey, smash the like button. And for my viewers who want to support the channel even more, check out my Patreon page where you can support the channel for less than the cost of something like Netflix. And I have recently just set up a new private Discord community, so of course check this out too, with Patreon members getting access to an extra Discord level. Support the channel, check all of this out, and let's make those gains together. Now with Ilus earnings report only a few days away, it's important to recognize the impact that this will have. So looking at the balance sheet, first of all, we can see that Ilus has total current assets of 35.5 million and total assets overall of 55.3. This is an increase of about 75% in just 6 months, but liabilities have also risen from 13.5 up to 34.5, which gives Ilus a shareholder equity of $20.7 million. Now let's be honest, this is an OTC pink sheet stock. All things considered, this is a strong balance sheet for an OTC company. Equity might only be 20 million, but this is a profitable company as we'll see in a moment, and the market cap of only 100 million. Achieving this level of growth while remaining profitable is a big achievement. And we can see that here looking at the statement of operations. We can see that they have achieved revenue for the quarter of 19.6 million, a gross profit of 5.8 and a net profit of 1.1 million. But this is where one of the major issues is right now, and this is something that is holding the stock back in my opinion. Despite revenue growth of over 500% from 2.8 up to $19.6 million, Ilus have only managed to increase their overall profit by less than $600,000, which is extremely disappointing when you analyze the numbers. The net profit margin was about 20% back in 2021, however now in 2022 it is only 5.7. This is a huge drop, but I am not worried about this yet, and I will explain this in a moment. The gross profit ratio was around 35% in 2021, but has fallen to 30% in 2022. So first of all, the gross profit margin is fine. It's not a big drop, and with time, the synergies between the Ilus family of companies should help to improve this margin. So I think a little initial gross profit margin drop is normal after a 500% revenue increase. Now what is important here is the margin. When we see the earnings report next week, we need to see improved margins. Now mark my words, when this earnings report is released, the headline will say either Ilus achieves over 50% quarter over quarter growth, or the headline might even go as far to say something like Ilus has achieved over 1000% year over year growth. Remember that in the first quarter of this year, Ilus achieved only 3 million of revenue, but this was at a very good profit margin of about 20%. Last quarter it was 19 million, however the margin was nowhere near what I expected, and now JP has said in today's shareholder letter that when the earnings are released next week, that revenue will be over $50 million. Again, it's a huge increase, but we need to see increased margins. If these margins go back to what they were in Q1, I have no doubt that this stock rockets up next week. But if the margins remain low, just like Q2, then I expect nothing significant to happen, and we're relying solely on the deals that are coming in the coming weeks and months. But overall, with the huge deals that are due to take place in the coming weeks, and with JP dropping subtle hints about uplisting in a recent interview with Buffalo Fireside Chats, I expect that we could see a similar run to what we've seen here last year. Now for anyone who has not seen this interview, I highly recommend checking this out over the weekend. I've put a link to this in the description down below. Now looking at the charts from last year, we can see that this could be very similar to this year. The stock had been moving downwards for most of the year, from February 2021 until August. Then suddenly it exploded and gained over 1000%, hitting 50 cents in November. As we know, the entire market started to crash in November. But look at February this year onwards. Literally, since February until now, this looks very similar to last year, and I think that a good earnings, with all the upcoming deals being announced, are likely to push this stock up big time in the coming weeks leading up to the shareholders meeting in early Q1. But this is just my opinion, and I highly recommend everyone to do their own due diligence. Remember that I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. If you're new, consider subscribing to the channel and check out my Patreon page if you want to support the channel, and I will see you in the next update video.